same. Alright, so I am currently having OBS issues, which is rather normal at this point, but that is fine. Alright, so let's continue doing this anyway, because why not? It's not working how I had thought it would, so we're just gonna run it like this. Alright, so let's get back to our study session let's pick up back where we left off. So, we started talking about the human body, la gente, the people. So the human body, the, so the human, oh my lord, hold on. That looks terrible. Okay. So, forgive me, I have a brace on today, so I'm you just as this. So, the human body, right? In Spanish, according to my bilingual dictionary, it's, it's spelled and pronounced L Q R El cuerpo. That is the human body. El cuerpo. Cuerpo. Alright, so the reason I do think it's important to start with the human body is because a lot of conversations tend to revolve around the human body. Like, is your head okay? Is your feet okay? Your ankles? I'm working out my back today. All the fun little things. So, today, under the body, we're going to continue learning the surface level parts. Like, for example, el cuello, el cu e yo, el cuello, which is the neck, right? El cuello is the neck, and we tend to have a lot of neck issues, which is understandable. That tends to happen from time to time for everybody. If you don't strengthen your neck, yeah, apparently you can strengthen your neck, which is very interesting. But when it comes to pronouncing it, for English, it's neck. For Spanish, it's going to be el Q e yo. It. So when it comes to so a very interesting thing we're going to be looking at a lot is how to pronounce everything, kind of like the breakdown when it comes to the words. Like for the human body, right? Human body, B-O-D-Y, ba, di, ba, di. It's split in two syllables, so that's how you pronounce it. In Spanish, it's gonna be L, Q, E, yo. No, wait, that's making it. No, El Corpo. Oh, yeah. So this is also a very important thing to keep in mind when you're learning, especially something like a new language, like a skill that you aren't that familiar with. Is you're going to make mistakes. and especially when it comes to having to learn a buttload, a uh, a nada amount of words, if you're gonna get sometimes you're gonna get mistaken. That's why the important thing to do is practice. El cuerpo. El cuerpo. El cuerpo. So, uh, so L, right, it's treated a lot. It's, from what I've noticed, like, what I've noticed with studying the language is, uh, L, la, lo, stuff like that. Um, a big thing I've noticed is it kind of tends to be kind of used for the in most cases, like the body, the chicken. Uh, think about la naga de pollo. So, for example, el naga de pollo, right? The chicken butt. Uh, uh, el ticas de pollo, chicken breast. And what's interesting, even like we will eventually get to, we will eventually get to there, because there is it's what I've noticed tends to combine two words to make one, and something that I'm still looking into, but from what I can tell, what's the name of short key for this word? Is, let's say for example, L, fear, that was terrible, fear, de, pollo. Alright, el pie de pollo, right? Pie is going to be pie, pie is feet, right? And pollo is chicken. It's chicken, right? Feet chicken, right? Look on the surface, it reads feet chicken, which is not really what this actually says. So de is equivalent to, think of a plus sign, right? Feet plus chicken. But an important thing to keep in mind with de is, so for example, right, pe de pollo, feet plus feet chicken is not correct. It would be more like chicken. It would be more like chicken, and then feet. Right. This will come first, and then this will come second. Right. Because de is the conjoiner, but it's also you can also look at it as like of, right? So feet of chicken, which feet of chicken, if we look at it through like if we break that down in context of like within English, that would be chicken feet, right? Because it's feet of a chicken, right? This, I honestly explaining it like this blows my mind because I didn't read, because this is amazing. So it's the same thing like if you want cheese bread, right? The cheese bread, you'll want queso de pan, which queso is cheese, que, que, queso de pan. queso de pan. I eventually planning would like to get like a tablet of this, so I think that would be very useful. So queso de pan. Queso is generally for cheese, right? Queso is general for cheese. Pan is general for bread, right? Is general for bread. So cheese of bread, bread cheese, cheesy bread. Pan de queso, cheesy bread. Or would it be actually queso de can? Uh, pan de queso, queso de pan, pan de queso. I think actually this would probably be pan de queso. That's what I'm thinking it'll probably be. But then again, still learning. But let's get back to the lesson. Sorry about that. So let's get back to L Q F cuerpo. El cuerpo, which in English would be the body, or just simply body. Now, again, why we're starting with the human body? Because the body is just very universal when it comes to understanding and conversation. So, el cuerpo, body. So, for the first one, we're going to look at el cuello. This phrase really gets annoying. So, let's look again. El Q E el cuello, which is neck. Which is neck, right? El cuello is neck. And then, so El Q. So this will break down like Q. E. Yo. Because the double L is more like a ya when you pronounce it like ye. How you pronounce ya. So you know how with yeah or ye, say yeah, how that is how we pronounce the ye. In that's how you would really uh, that's how you would pronounce the double L. And ne, it doesn't sound like it, but N is pronounced by itself. Ne, na, e, ne. But these kind of merge in together, like here, Q, Q is ho, right? Ho, ne, ne. So that is something to keep in mind. It's close. Very interesting. I like that about Spanish because has so far been a really interesting language to learn. It's complex, but it's not that difficult if you can get used to like understanding of which words have the masculine and feminine versions and whatnot. But honestly, this is just really a good skill to learn. The Spanish is a lot popular. Of course, depending on where you at, the dialect of it will change. Like, I know a guy who is Brazilian. He, from my understanding, what was told to me is he speaks a Brazilian version of Spanish. I don't quite fully understand uh, the various dialects or a way to really explain them. But I feel like you're American, just think of like traveling down south, northwest, all around. Like we have country, you have city, you have northern, western talk, you have all that. So El Cuello, which is neck. So the best way to really get to a good way to look at this is to let's take a sentence. For example, my head hurts, right? My neck hurts, or I sprained my neck, right? You don't know all the words to complete that full sentence. But what we can do is say, instead of saying my, instead of saying my neck hurts, instead of saying like my neck hurts, right? Oh my god. ADHD people. My neck hurts. We can say, my Q A my QAO hurts, right? And as we pick up more words, we'll slowly replace the English with Spanish, right? It's all about just practice, 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 practice. It's the one thing that's really helped me, but also having someone next to speak Spanish with it does help a lot. Uh, so that is also something to always keep in mind. So let's get the next, right? Next, let's look at our next word, which is going to be this is going to be kind of a tough one. This one's going to be ill. Do men el abdomen el abdomen el abdomen, which in English would be the abdomen, right? Abdomen. So good. So essentially, what you're seeing me do now is going through the process of what people really do when it comes, like a very common practice when it comes to learning new words, is you're slowly pronouncing them as you go, trying to make sure that you're pronouncing them correctly. Oh, my pretty pebbles just watching. Oh, my little student. Right, so abdomen, right? And yes, with the alphabet, it's good to learn the alphabet. That's really probably one of the first things you really want to do when it comes to learning a language. Is getting the alphabet. Yes, there's times where the words kind of change how you're talking with it. Uh, but it's good in general just to try to learn the alphabet. As you're sounding them out, it kind of helps. Uh, ab, e, ab, ab, A, B, C, C, D. Do, 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 abdo, men, abdomen, el abdomen, 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 abdomen. A thing that comes up when you're learning Spanish, and when you're learning another language, and you have two words that are essentially that are spelled the same and are pronounced very similar, uh, you'll start mixing up the pronunciation of them both because it sounds so similar. Because abdomen is is really similar, especially when you're looking at it for abdomen. even though there's an O for abdomen. It's really crazy, but that's English for you. But abdomen. Alright. Next, we're going to, that's abdomen. And next, we're going to go to our next body part, right? Because the body part is very important. This is going to be la cadera, which is the hip. As you know, a lot of people complain about the hip. La ca la cadera, cadera, la cadera, dera. So when it comes to ER, from my understanding, this is also something to keep in mind when you're learning Spanish. They put a little space because you don't need it. Dera. If I remember correctly, dera is when it has like a when the R is either at the beginning of a sentence or is double R or has a vowel either next to it or surrounded by a vowel, you want to roll the R. Now, rolling the R is a skill all of its own that's used in various other languages. For example, Russian. I remember this because we were trying to learn Russian at one point. Once we become reasonably fluent in Spanish, we will probably be moving to either Russian or German. So Spanish is going to be our little gateway to give us the confidence and the brain mapping that we need in order to continue learning harder languages. So rolling the R is kind of complicated. I don't even think I do it right. But it's still something I work on. Uh, of course, you definitely want to look up a lot of videos on how to roll the R. But something that has been helping me a little bit is listening to take the word federal. Is federal? I'm using. Okay, let's take the word. So I do want to. I think this is going to be important. Uh, so this is going to be an important word. Federal. Federal. So federal, from the context that I know it to be, is but. Like I like this, I like it, but it's too expensive. Es más dinero, no bueno. Es bueno, pero is hmm. Federal. I see with our previous word, la cadera, cadera, la cadera, cadera. So the previous word, la cadera, it has the ER. Okay. La cadera. It has E. And federal, see, depending, that's also the beautiful thing. So federal, 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 you roll the R because it has the E. And if you don't roll the R, you just say federal, federal. So federal and perro. Perro is the dog, right? Perro is dog in Spanish. Perro is butt in Spanish. Like the contradiction, like this food is good, but it costs too much money. So perro. So rolling your R's is very important. Perro. It's the same as with like the double L. When it's a single L, it's LA. The double L, it's yeah, yeah. Even the O, because even the is something that also has two different punctuation. Like you have O, and then or if you have O and Oi, Oi, and not 100% sure how to pronounce that one. It's something I'm still working on. But let's get back to the lesson. Speaking by part, the hip, el cadero. So we go back to el cadero, right? Where's my thing? Okay, el cadero. Oh God, el cadero. It's dera, not dero. El cadero, right? La gente, people. The main topic we're gonna be talking about today is la gente, it's people, and that's more like everybody, right? Magenta is more about everybody. It's the same as alimentos, which is like all the food and drinks and whatnot. Uh, La persona is more about like an individual person, which is the same as comida, comida, which is all about like an individual plate, individual portion, a single drink, stuff like that. So, and let's see, el cuerpo, el, el, you, el, whole, the human body, el cuello, which is the neck, el abdomen, which is abdomen, el cadera, el cadera, which is the hip, which is the hip. Alright, we all know why that is important. So our next one is going to be a word that I recently learned how to pronounce. If I am wrong, please tell me in the comments. I am, I am more than happy. I do want to learn and become better. So this one is el pie, 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 no, pie, pie, which is feet. As far as that sounds, which is feet. The E, the E. We're going to more racist. I don't like this. It looks terrible. So we're gonna go E. Right, E. LP. Now, something I do want to look at is maybe this will help. Let's do a giant. Uh, let's turn this whole thing into like a text box. So again, we have L up here, which is equal to, which is feet, right? Up here is feet, right? We have L agente, agenta, no, agente, which is going to be people, but in the context of uh, of in context of like everyone. Have like everyone. Actually, have like everyone. So I think I will go area black. I think that'll probably be better. And then we have uh, L, have El Abdomen, which is abdomen. Now, if you prefer the written text, let me know, and I'll probably do more of that. I probably will do next stream full like this in hopes that it reads better. Then we have see El Peco, El Pet, A B C C, El Pecho. I am so sorry, my book though. So El Pecho, this is one that we really want to talk about. Is El Pecho. El Pecho, which is going to be our chest. Right, El Pecho. This is very truly interesting. So we have El Pecho. This is going to be our chest. Which is going to be our chest. Next, we're going to look at El Cuello, El Q, El Cuello, which is going to be our neck, right? Very important words. This is your vocabulary list. Please study it well. So this is pretty difficult to read. So we can go here. Area black. We go back down. Let's let's go over the other part. So it's in the lower bit. You need to remember. El pecho, cuello, abdomen, el pie. That is all el cuerpo. Cuerpo. I don't know what's doing this. El, Q, El, cuerpo, which is the body, right? It's our body. It's what we have. So next we'll have la cadera. La cadera, which is going to be our hip. A pie, which is our feet. El gente, which is people, which is everyone. It's the same as alfabeto, which is for like, everything. El abdomen, el pecho, chest, el pecho, chest, el cuello, neck, el cuerpo, el cuerpo, el cuerpo, which is body, and la cadera, which is the hip. Now let's increase our vocabulary a little bit more. you are all free to follow, to practice as much as you like within your head. Now, la cabeza, la, ca, la cabeza, which is going to be your head. La cabeza. La cabeza is muy importante, especially if you're dealing with, if you're playing football. Football. That is also important. Another thing we're going to look at is la rodilla. La rodilla. Which is going to be your knee. If you don't have healthy knees, it's going to be hard to play football. It's going to be hard to walk. It's going to be hard to do a lot of things. So the important thing with this, we're also going to look at, so the part of, so when you have the knee, so we have the knee, the thigh, and the calf. When you put it all together, what you have is la pierna, la pierna, la pierna, la, see, it's gonna be la pierna, which is gonna be your leg, right? La pierna. I in Spanish is pronounced E. The same way we pronounce E in English or in English, you'll have it's pronounced the same. It's pronounced the same, right? So let's go back over the words we have. So I'm gonna give you a second to look back over the words, practice them in your head, and tell me what you think. With el pie, which is feet. El gente, which is people, but in the context of everyone. Persona, la persona. So when we have la persona is it's person, right? The person easy to get mixed up with, right? We have el abdomen, abdomen, man, emme, enne, abdomen, abdomen, which in English abdomen. El pecho, which is chest. El cuello, neck. El cuerpo, body. La cadera, hip. La cabeza, head. La rodilla, knee. And la pierna, leg. Forgive me, this is difficult. But I gotta get this out right. So let's see. Do we have any other words that we need to put on this list? Yes. La mayor and el hombre. So this is also important. So la mayor is going to be female, or if another way of looking at it is like a woman, right? Another way of looking at it is woman. That's another way of looking at la mayor. Then we have el hombre. Um, el hombre, which is male. But another way to look at it, which is male. But another way to look at it, for like remembering purposes, is think of it like a man, right? That's another way of looking at it. A lot of times with this, you just want to. A lot of this is you need to see the context on how it's used and like what is surrounding it. So let's go over again these words. The important thing is practice, practice, practice. You want to practice. You must practice, practice. Practicing is very important. A good way to practice. These are a lot of words. So let's erase everything and let's go start back from number one. We have el gente, which is people. El gente, which is people. Then we have el cuerpo, which is going to be the body. Then we're going to have la mayor, mayor, which is female, or a way to look at it, it also is woman, right? Then we have el hombre, which is male, but you can also look at it as men, right? Soy hombre, tu mayor, like that, right? Then now let's look at la cabeza, which is going to be your head, right? Cabeza, very important. Now let's look at el pecho, which is going to be your neck. Learning the words themselves is very important. Hola, yo soy Brock. Hola. Lo siento. No, bueno, mi español, pero yo practicar mucho con mis amigos de trabajador en el CIMA. So another one we want to look at is, oh lord, el pecho, lo siento. El pecho is chest. And with neck, it's gonna be el cuello. Which is gonna be your neck. Now we do want to look at la cadera. So la cadera is I think is an important one. Where it's like la cadera, perro, pera. So pera, perro. So la cadera, which is gonna be your hip. Which is going to be which is good, is very important for your health. But when it comes to Spanish, cadera, the ER is important because that is an indicator of when you need to roll your R. Cadera. Next, let's look at la rodea, la rodea, rodea, la rodea, which is going to be your knee, which is going to be your knee. All right. So next, we really should look at the shin, which is going to be, so your shin is going to be la, es, si, ni, ya. La esenia, which is going to be your shin, right? When you, and let's see, now we also need to put la, mus, la mus, muslo. Now we need to put el muslo. Going to be your thigh. Now we do this, so when you combine when you combine la rodilla, la espinilla y el muslo, que tienes la pierna, which is going to be your leg, right? Your leg is comprised of your knee, which is la rodilla, your shin, which is la espinilla, and your thigh, el muslo, that is your leg. Next, we're going to look at your foot. Now we're going to look at foot, which is going to be el pie, pie. It's going to be el pie, which is going to be foot, which is going to be your foot. Alright, let's see. We have el diente, people. El diente. So we have el diente for people, el cuerpo for body, la mayor for female, we're a woman, for female, el hombre for male, singular for men, la cabeza, this is going to be your head. Ooh, I missed the here. Lo siento. La cabeza for your head, el, el, el pecho, which is your chest, el cuello, which is your neck, la cadera, which is your heel, la rodilla, which is your knee, la espina, la espinilla, which is your shin, espina, espinilla, which is your shin, el muslo, which is your thigh, la pierna, your leg, el pie, which is your foot. What else do we need? What else should we cover? What else we need? What? So what else do we have? So Brazil, anti Brazil. I like that form. It's really cool. Really good. For this next one, we are going to work on pronouncing forearm in Spanish, which in this case it would be, if this would act right, if an te brazo, antebrazo, 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 ah, antebrazo, antebrazo, which is going to be your forearm. Alright, so before we end the stream, let's go back over our current list of words, and then after that, we're going to talk a little bit. We're just going to do a little free talk. We can do a little bit of free talk before the hour's up. So go back over our list. We have el gente, which is people. El cuerpo, which is body. La mayor, which is female. El hombre, which is male. El cabeza, which is head. El pecho, is chest. El cuello, which is neck. La cadera, which is hip. La rodilla, which is knee. La esquina, which is shin. El muslo, which is thigh. La pierna, which is leg. El pie, which is foot. El antebrazo, which is forearm. And then for the last one, we are going to be the most important one, which we're going to go up to 28 for, and that is going to be nalga de pollo. Nalga de pollo is beautiful. Nalga de pollo is very beautiful. Now, while you write down your words, while you keep them in your mind, your head, so we can practice about them later, so we can practice them. Probably in a couple of days, we'll go back over these words and we'll test them to see if we can remember them all. But right now, I want to talk a little bit to you about Spanish, some things I'm running into, my favorite parts about Spanish, personally, and kind of why I'm really have been enjoying the process of learning Spanish. I work with some really cool people. I met some really cool people who speak Spanish, and they really got me into it. And I really would love to be able to speak with them more in Spanish. And so that's my primary reason for going down this journey of trying to kind of speed run Spanish or kind of teach myself how to speak Spanish, because I want to be able to have good conversations with them. they've all been really helpful. That's something that I really noticed when it comes to learning Spanish is the people is uh, if they if people the people who are primarily Spanish speakers, at least the ones that I've had the pleasure of talking to, all have seemed really kind, nice, and very helpful with the process. For example, el pie for foot, I was able to go. I was able to go with my friends. They helped me pronounce it. They will regularly help me pronounce words. They also teach me some words, help me a little bit with sentence structure and stuff like that, which is nice. It's very helpful. Um, One of the best ways to genuinely the best way to really learn another language, and the fastest realistically, is to have someone with you that can help someone who has learned the language to help you with and help you learn it because they know all the tips and tricks. They've been through it and they know what really works and what doesn't, and they'd be the best one. When you don't have that, kind of what you want to do, at least what I'm doing, is I'm learning individual Spanish words and trying to implement, insert them and replace in like English sentences by replacing their English variant, their English uh, translation. Uh, for example, let's look at muslo, right? El muslo. Me gusta el muslo. Uh, I I like thighs. Replace thigh with muslo. You have I like muslo. Then you'll learn like in Spanish. For the when you're talking about yourself, it's gonna be me gusta. So you say uh, yo me gusta muslo. Muslo es muy importante. If you uh, pizza or carne or hamburguesa, eh, PNP, eh, la cena, which is like the office. Uh, no, cena is kitchen. Yes. There's a lot of ways you can do when it comes to learning it. It takes time. Sentence structure is also kind of is can be a little difficult to wrap your hand around at first, but once you get going, everything will quickly fall in place. I think it's really important to learn multiple languages. It really rewires your brain in a way to make you see things different, and it's just all around make you a better person and bring you to experiences that you may never know you'll ever see. So with that, we're getting close to the end of the stream. So I would like to leave the floor out for probably the next minute or two. If anyone has any questions regarding like English, if you want to know if you want to have any questions of like the process of learning a language like English, Spanish, whatnot, uh, please go ahead and let me know. And I'll do my best to answer what you have. And who will do for until it's done. The stream is done. Something that I really find interesting in life is kind of where you find yourself. I never really liked school. I never really liked school personally. I to some extent, I think some teachers are underrated, and I also kind of think the job is kind of overrated. It really sucks. Pay sucks for most parts. The degree's not all that grand, but we do need it, and I wish teachers got a little bit more respect. But in all honesty, seeing myself kind of doing the teaching thing right now, it's something I never thought that I would ever find myself doing. And I really do hope that for any of you who've been with me during the stream, I hope you've been able to take something away, learning something maybe to help you during your journey. Um, but with that, naga naga de pollo es muy importante para todo. And with that, mi importante amigos, yo solo quiero hablo. Adiós.